Hey everybody, Jason Creel here and you're watching The Lawn Care of Life. Today I'm going to give you 4 reasons why if your lawn is not as green as your neighbor's, 4 reasons why that is. And it might just be your own fault. So watch this video and let's figure out how to fix it. Okay, so let's take a look at the grass on either side of this driveway. And I'm making a point here because this is going to be reason number 1. And the reason that you might think it is, and it seems like the number 1 reason that customers tell me, is one reason of the 4 I'm going to give you, but I'm going to put it last because I think it's probably the least important and the least one that factors into why your grass is not as green. So look at this. What do you say about the grass over here and the grass over here? What's the difference? Same yard. Which one's greener? Now the one over here is more green than the one over there. Will y'all agree with that? All right, so what is that? Same yard. How come this is more green? And this is common I see for my customers, sometimes talking to them. So if you look at this, I'm gonna quiz you a little bit. What kind of grass is this? This is centipede. And then as you move on up here, you get into zoysia. Look at the greenness of this lawn. Now we're in mid-March or you know late to mid-March, right before the beginning of spring. When I'm filming this video, I'm in Alabama, so this is not as green as it's gonna get. But you notice both the centipede and the zoysia have a decent amount of green in them. Now, what kind of grass is this here? This is Bermuda. Look at the color difference. Now, is there some green in there? Yeah, there's a little bit of green in there, but do you see a noticeable color difference between this Bermuda and this zoysia over here and the centipede? Absolutely. Does it have to do with the sunlight? No, it doesn't have to do with sunlight. It's simply a different kind of grass. So reason number 1 that your grass is not as green as your neighbor's is you may have a different kind of grass than they do that greens up slower. Now I'm dealing mostly with warm season grasses. So, you know, if you got ryegrass and fescue and Kentucky bluegrass, all that, I mean, sure they're green. But we're trying to make our warm season grasses green. The Bermuda typically is the slowest one to wake up in the springtime, in my observation. Centipede probably the fastest one, then zoysia and St. Augustine kind of right there together, and then Bermuda is the slowest one to wake up. So anyway, having a different kind of grass. I remember a customer, seems like I might make stuff up in my head sometimes, but looking across the street and saying, how come their yard is so green and my yard's not? And the only difference was that I could tell was the customer had, the neighbor had a zoysia lawn and my customer had a Bermuda lawn, and the zoysia turns green faster. What are some other explanations of why one yard might be green and another not? So let's take another example. Look at the noticeable difference here between these 2 yards. You've got, and I can't remember if I'm gonna have 4 or 5 reasons for this. I'm sorry, I may come up with 5, but we'll watch the video and see if there's 4 or 5 reasons. But you see a noticeable difference here in the color of that and the color of that. So one reason, this is reason number 2, if you're keeping count at home, reason number 2 why your yard may not be as green as your neighbor's is because your neighbor's yard is full of weeds and your yard doesn't have weeds. Most of the time, the greenest yards that I see in my area that are sure enough green in February is because it's not the actual turf grass, it's their weeds. A lot of times it's POA. In this situation, it's every weed known to man. Reason number 3 I want to mention, and this is a very important one in my estimation, because one you have a lot of control over, is the neighbor's yard might be greener than yours, even if you have the same exact type of grass, and even if neither one have weeds in it, but simply because they have mowed the lawn sooner than you have. So again, me being in Alabama market, I try to get out there sometime in March. It doesn't have to be early March, it can be February for that fact of the matter, but to go ahead and to cut the grass. Now I'm dealing mostly with Bermuda grass, but cutting the grass, what does that accomplish? Well, mostly what you're doing is you're getting rid of that dormant layer grass, and if you can bag it, great. If you mulch it, great, whatever. But it's gonna allow more sunlight down to the roots, which is gonna help warm the soil better. You basically got it insulated, having all that dormant grass there, and that dormant grass is not going to turn green again, okay? It's going to put up new shoots. So if you get rid of that dormant layer, which is insulating the grass, which could also be a somewhat of a good thing to have, insulating the roots during the winter to help protect it. But once spring starts, is right around the corner, you want to get rid of that and let the sunlight get down there. So I found that people that mow earlier in the year, their grass is going to be greener. To make my point even further, I'm shooting this video on a, let's see what day is, I think a Thursday. Last Friday, I believe it was, I mowed my own lawn, Bermuda lawn, and I cut it low. I cut it like 1.5 inches Bermuda grass, and I went by the house today and it looked like somebody had been out there spray painting my lawn green almost. The amount of difference in how green it is from last Friday, it's been, I guess, 6 days, is unbelievable. And it had a lot to do with me mowing it and getting rid of that dormant turf and letting the sunlight get down to it. Obviously the weather has a big part in it as well, but we're talking in this video how come one yard in the same area is greener than others, so weather should be similar. Okay, I am officially gonna have 5. I said 4 at the beginning, but I've got 5 reasons. The fourth reason of the 5 is that somebody's yard might be greener than yours is because you decided during the spring transition to bombard your yard with herbicides. Now, do I spray herbicide during spring transition? Absolutely. I'm trying to keep the weeds out. But you can go kind of a low rate, and preferably, if you're gonna just do it one time, I would rather you spray your Bermuda grass or your zoysia before the transition. Do it in January or February. Go ahead and get your pre-emergent out, post-emergent out. And yeah, I come back and spray again during transition for my customers, but a low rate. But if you go out there, especially on a Centipede or St. Augustine lawn, and you go out there and you just hammer it during the transition period with herbicides, it can definitely set back the green up significantly. I know this for a fact. I remember spraying a Centipede lawn with a very low rate of metsulfuron, which is like MSM turf or Manor, I believe is another label, and it basically turned it yellow and seriously delayed how quick that lawn greened up that spring. So be very careful in spraying. I would encourage you, if you got a Centipede lawn, to not spray it during transition. Spray it before then. If you're going to spray it, atrazine is one of the safer products you can use this for without delaying the green up. And then once it turns green, then you can spray it and take care of the weeds. So you may have to live with a little bit of weeds in the springtime to keep from seriously delaying your green up. Now, with that being said, you may have to weigh the options there. Is the weeds the bigger problem? And they're so bad you don't want to wait, and you spray it. Well, you know, that's just something you're going to have to decide, I guess. And the fifth thing I want to mention, and this is the one that seems like people want to run to, and I'm going to rank it. If I was ranking these, I would put this dead last. I don't know what order I'd put the first 4 in. I'd probably put mowing the grass the first factor in making them green. But the dead last one that I'm going to put is the one that seems to be the most talked about, and that is putting fertilizer on the lawn. Does fertilizer make grass more green? Of course it does. But oftentimes people think that if I went and fertilized this Bermuda yard right here today, when it's about 60 degrees today, that it's going to magically make it turn green. It's still cool. We're getting down in the 30s tonight. I mean, sometimes people want to put a lot of fertilizer on the lawn and the grass is just not actively growing. It's not going to be using, a lot of the nutrients are going to get wasted, and it's not going to effectively help that grass as much as you would like to think it was. Now, once it starts growing, then you put the fertilizer to it with the nitrogen. It's going to help it turn more green, help it grow. But a lot of times people think that that's the answer, and I would encourage you to explore the other 4 options before just dumping fertilizer on your 20% green Bermuda lawn and thinking that that's going to make it greener than everybody else's. So there you have it. Those are the reasons that I've come up with of why your yard is not as green as your neighbor. I'm Jason Creel. If you enjoyed the video, you would help me out by leaving a comment, giving it a thumbs up, sharing it, doing whatever people do on social media these days. But I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed it, there's over 600 lawn care videos on the channel. If you're in the lawn care business, you can also go over to lawncarelife.com. I've got resources available for you there to help you be successful in your business. Appreciate you watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye.